Dear beloved, we are here today to celebrate the life of blood and guts Murphy. Frank Grimes, or Grimy, as he liked to be called. In many ways, Mounted Flanders was a supporting player in our lives. We are here to mourn the tragic loss of RIP Gal Simpson. An empty barrel reverberates loudly. The day I am that barrel, well, my Lawrence always talked about his best friends, the fellows at most tavern. Oh, we miss you, Mrs. K. Bloody Gums Murphy was quite a soulful player. Taught us that a man can triumph over adversity. She didn't grab our attention with memorable catchphrases or comical accents. A gifted cocktail waitress who hoped one day to learn computers. Even though my father and I had our difficulties, he was a great man. Perhaps one of you could talk about Larry's love of fishing. We really miss you, Mrs. K. You didn't know, nobody knew that he was a great man. And even though Frank's agonizing struggle through life was tragically cut short, but whether you noticed her or not, Maud was always there. But whether you noticed her or not, Maud was always there. Amber said she wouldn't let her 8th grade education stop her from achieving her dreams. Look, I'm an entertainer, so maybe the best way to say how I feel about my dad is through a song that somebody else wrote. Fish Lake was full of fish, and you know who always caught the biggest fish? I wanna say Ray, and I won't rest till all Springfield knows the name Bleeding Gums Murphy. I'm sure he's looking down on us right now. Change the channel, Mars, and God, she always would be. And get it in, and I hired people to sing. This is for you, man. Big Fish Larry, oh yeah, Lindy, watch out, fish. We really have to miss you, Mrs. K. Blood and Guts Murphy, Frank's agonizing struggle, Maud was always there. A gifted cocktail waitress, he was a great man. Big Fish Larry. You didn't know, nobody knew him, but he was a great man. You didn't know him, nobody knew him, but he was a great man. Nobody knew him, but he was a great man. I got to go, I got a pub lunch at 1 o'clock. Nobody knew him, Buddy Larry Cash pub lunch at 1 o'clock.
I need to run off. I've got a pub lunch booked at 1 o'clock.
As you can see, I am finally Zazcording, and that's not just talk.
That's the real truth. Interjection from Beef. I've got an intro anyway, actually.
I need to run off. I've got a pub lunch booked at 1 o'clock.
All right.
Oh, such fun. We just 2 Ouija boys are flying in their boat. Oh, such fun. We just 2 Ouija boys are flying in our boat over a seemingly endless ocean.
Oh, but Dobby, where are you? Oh, he's bleeding disappeared, and now I don't think we'll ever find the realest real.
No, I am here. I was just hanging out with Beef.
Pastry, pleasure, beef, bliss, 100 modes, potato, piss.
It's great.
Oh, you can do that?
Oh yes, I'm a multiversal, spectral, sonic being, very powerful.
Oh, hi.
Much more powerful than the likes of Marky Smith.
Oh, hi, Beef.
Hello.
Hello, pub lunches. So, Dobby, no.
So, Dobby, you reckon that this is not the real reality and there is a realer reality?
Yes, are you stupid? Are you Marky Smith? Yes, we established this 3 episodes ago.
Oh, well, let's head to Worsley Mares Nez, and you can tell us the rest on the way.
I already
What
said
are we
that.
doing
Let's
here?
head to Wesley Mains and I'll tell you the rest. We already did that.
Assistant Spider, though, do you have a song?
No problem. I'm happy to help, but you'll have to pay me in shiny jelly beans.
Shiny jelly beans? That's quite a currency. But okay, do you have a preference?
Indeed, it's the preferred payment in the spider world, and Jelly Belly ones are classic. But them ones you get from the pound shop are all right as well. But they have to be all the flavours, not just a big bag of sugary beans.
Well, as long as the songs keep coming, I'm happy.
Oh, don't worry, I'll keep spinning those tunes for you. Hee 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 hee.
Oh, Assistant Spider, you're such a character. Speaking of payment, I can see the spider paper that your former boss. I've been reading the spider paper, and I can see that your former boss, Larton Crepsley Spider, seems to have vanished, and he's left Darren's estate ownerless. That's strange, isn't it?
Eek, just
Isn't
do the
it?
song.
Deal.
Beef, glad to have you on board. Let's do this song here from the Spider. Beef, do you want to say the name of the character, or do you want to say the bit?
I'll say the bit. Is that okay?
Nathan, you can say Zaz, you can say the name of the character and action.
Larry Barfly.
Friend of Sam,
Larry Barfly.
the one who sits next to Sam,
Larry Barfly.
always at Moe's
Larry Barfly.
with Sam.
Larry Barfly.
Yes, the one with he's the one that doesn't have a hat on or glasses.
Larry Barfly.
So he's not Sam then,
Larry Barfly.
just Larry. Always by himself.
Larry Barfly.
Except when he's with Sam, which is all of the time.
So the song is setting up the tension in this environment. In the barren expanse known as Netherworld, a congregation of sinister beings is assembled. They go by the name of the Reliquarians, assuming the identity of Lawrence M. Nightingale of Flimsy Rosewater. Once embraced warmly by creatures in the Evenwheel Republic, they now find themselves on a vessel on the edge of catastrophe.
You certainly do. I am Lawrence M. Nightingale, the central figure. I am impervious to seafood and devoid of blood. I harbour a distaste for kale. I profess a connection with Yetis. I manage the local mail service. I advocate for Red Bull, and I have collaborated with Bran Flakes, but it's on hold for reasons I can't get into. For unconventional culinary ventures. Currently, I wield only a fraction of my father's powers. I hold annual passes to both Gracelands and Eurodollywood.
And ED as we call it. And I am Flimsy Rosewater, a fervent admirer of ribbons, in pursuit of everlasting jellyfish, reveling in linguistics, linguini, and immersed in a vibrant palette of hues. I bring delight to the mouse hamlet after eons of XNE demons. Additionally, I have an affinity for store-bought margarita pizza, and like Lawrence, I possess a fraction of my father's abilities. I possess a unique artifact, a relic within a relic.
Then there's me, Frozen, the third sibling who sounds just like Flimsy, who takes joy in resembling Dobby from the Harry Potter series. Great joy. I suppose I've also inherited Dad's powers, the power of resentment. Marky Smith, my words. I was going to say that anyway.
Are you going to say that?
Now, as I look back, I can see the words as clearly as I can see the back of my own hands.
Once employed as chronicles in Lee's Town Hall, we haphazardly record the enigmatic Simpsons archives and meticulously document the obscure corners and gateways of Springfield.
We are now freed from external constraints, as prescribed by the sacred manuscript. We pay tribute to those who have passed, RIP Darren Spider and Ham and Jessica Owl, and glide on our enchanted airship to unspecified to uncover the purest truths of the realist real.
Speaking of the realist real,
well, I got this from our cousin. They do a sponsor thing, and apparently there is a Larry sponsor race, and this is it.
beautiful.
Welcome to the first season of the Larry Race. Here are our contestants first up. It's Larry, it's the elimination order. First down is Larry, which means the winner is Larry to the boom.
The end.
Moon Slag. I like the fact that was a very blown out, distorted reggae song. It's brilliant.
It was great.
To the moon. So then we get to the part about Larry, etc., etc., etc. I like him.
Larry from The Simpsons.
Larry from The Simpsons. Beef. What do we know about Larry? What do we know about Larry as a character?
Well, we covered Sam, didn't we, a few months back? I mean, and he's probably, we went for him because we know slightly more about him, even though we know nothing at all. So Larry, what do we know? He hangs out at Moe's. He's a less colourful character than Sam. He dresses. I mean, what would you say about his dress? It's
Relative, isn't it?
nondescript.
It's comfortable.
I wonder that jacket he wears, is that leather? Is that suede? What is that? Cloth?
I'd say cloth.
Right.
Yeah, I saw it as like a puffer jacket kind of style, or like a
Puffer.
maybe not puffer jacket, but kind of like stable in the cold.
For sure.
Because if a man that wears a leather jacket, you know, that's a statement in it. That's like, you're the Fonz, you know what I mean? You're like a tough guy. But that's not Larry, is it? He's more kind of CNA.
Yeah, he's definitely a CNA man. He might have got it second hand from someone who bought it at Marks and Sparks. St. Michael's. What they call St. Michael's? What were their brand? What was their brand called?
St. Michael.
Yeah, it would be St. Michael's for me.
George's Asda.
George's Asda, yeah. We gleaned that Lawrence, most of this came from the last episode where they suddenly decided they need to flesh out his character when their spoiler killed him. He's one of two Barflies usually seen in Moe's Tavern along with Sam. He has a bald.
Which I will say now, it's interesting when the Samcast happened that this was just a wild pipe dream that one of the two of them would be killed off in a very similar way to Maud Flanders, our cousins, raison d'etre.
I think so.
It's very strange that, who knows, with a flip of the coin, we could have been doing the Samcast here again, the Rest in Peace Samcast. But instead, we have been insulted doubly with the death of Larry and the absence of Sam.
Yes, this stings, doesn't it? He's apparently 42 years old, just like Sam, and was first majorly introduced to us as an ogler when he ogled Marge when she walked into the bar, which we'll be looking at later, because slim pickings for Larry, and you've done a good job as of picking out some Larry stuff. He's the tallest of the Barflies.
I got a best of Larry video, and I simply took the best of Larry.
Best of Larry, edited down to a solid minute.
Yes.
So we know very little at all, and he just think of Homer Simpson as a colleague. He likes to drink beer. He has a dumb look about him, according to Simpsons Wiki. And his first major appearance was in Remains of the Day this very week, from when he did not
survive.
He did not survive.
There was two things going into this episode that I thought were a given, and I thought it was that Larry would speak and Sam would appear, and neither of those things were found to be true. But I will say now, it is strange. They did exactly the same thing with Maud and Helen. Helen was absolutely nowhere to be seen in that entire episode when Maud died, and she was the closest friend she had, and it's never been addressed since. And it's just sort of happened exactly the same again here.
Yeah.
Do
you like Larry in the way that you liked Sam, Beef, or is he just...
Oh, absolutely, yeah. This is it. When you start killing off these characters, you're picking at the very fabric of what makes Springfield such a rich tapestry. Do you know what I mean? And so I'd like it. I like him more than I like Principal Skinner or Mr. Burns or the majority of the Simpsons family. Yeah, because he says so much and yet it says nothing at all. Do you know what I mean? It's just in a glance or the way he tilts his head. Yeah, beautifully drawn character. And yeah, so this one really stung, I'll be honest. It really hit me hard. Yeah.
It seems to have hit the internet quite hard as well, which is interesting. I wonder how the internet would have responded if this had been someone akin to Barney or Krusty.
Well, I was thinking. So this is, you've mentioned this before, but they've kind of not killed Barney off, but he's no longer a drunk. Is this because attitudes towards alcohol have changed, right? So you can't laugh at drunk people.
Yeah, but he's now
people with alcohol problems anymore. Right?
He is back to being a drunk. I think he was only sober. He was sober for about 5 or 6 seasons, I think. But he's just they just disacknowledged that story and brought him back to being a drunk. In this episode, they say he's in Venezuela in this episode, building like a village, which is why he's not there. Which is how they got around Barney being a part of the gang. but they just didn't even try with Samuel.
No, I've seen an interview with one of the producers. He offers up an apology, but there's no sort of explanation or reason as to why. Yeah, I mean, famously in the montage you put together, they point to Mount Lushmore, don't they? And it's the classic gang, Sam top of the pile. So it's baffling. It's such poor writing, honestly.
Yeah, we'll get to all that.
Yeah, we'll get to all that anyway.
Get to all that. So, what ranking would you put him from A to G?
What, beef?
Beef.
Oh, well, what did we have Sam as? Was it like an E?
Yeah, I think Sam's like he's definitely not E lower, I would say.
I'd say where Sam goes, so goes Larry. So I'd say like an E minor.
Yeah, I agree.
E minor, saddest of all.
Mm-hmm. Well, he's such a downbeat character, so if the shoe fits.
Indeed. And what is it you like about Larry, if anything?
His demeanor, his fashion, just the ambience he brings. Just as opposed to having just some nondescript yellow round-headed character in the background. You've got this guy with this whiffy hair and these faraway eyes and this jacket, and you think, what's this guy all about? Has he got children? What does he do when he goes home? What does he watch? What does he think about? Where does he work? It's just the way they've constructed that character. It conjures up so many questions. It's in the same way that Sam did with his hat. Is he a trucker? It's the jacket for me. Something about that jacket.
Yeah. If anything more so, there's less to go on, and he looks more of a character with a path. But as we find out, not so much.
No. I wonder what led them to this decision, because people keep saying it is for clout or for attention, and I can't see that being the reason. I think they're long past the point of desiring a big audience. I think they're just they're staying, and that's that. I think it doesn't go any further than that. I don't think there's any let's do a big sweeps episode where we kill off X, Y, and Larry. But Larry's like I would say he's like an old shoe. He's a 35-year-old shoe. He's always been there. He's always, and we thought he always would be.
We refrained from
wearing. In many ways, Larry was a supporting player in our lives.
Yes. But now we've arrived at Worsley Mesness, and look, that abandoned IMFDB. It's where's our cousins? Our cousins gone? It just smells of old curry.
It reeks. It seems fairly abandoned though. It seems real. There's this handful of dust. If you look closely, it's quite pixelated. Can you also feel it with your third of your magic? It's
true. And you know what? This YouTube video is going to explain it all. Watch. A dim basement with a lone man sitting in front of a webcam wearing a tin foil hat.
This should explain everything, shouldn't it, Beef?
Oh, hello, Sponge Cake.
I hope so.
What do you think is the best pub lunch, Beef? I can only agree. With you.
Man, staring intensely into the camera. Hey, welcome back to my YouTube channel, where we explore the deepest, darkest corners of the internet and beyond. Today, I've got a revelation that'll blow your socks off. Are you ready for this? Brace yourselves, because we're about to dive headfirst into the digital rabbit hole. Grabs a handful of loose cables and waves them dramatically. Man, so, you know how we all go about our daily lives, thinking we're living in the real world, right? Wrong. What if I told you that we're not sipping coffee in cozy cafes or chilling at the beach? Nope, we're actually just bits and bytes, zeros and ones, living inside someone's cosmic hard drive. A potato and a USB stick. Man, this potato? Yeah, it's you. And this USB stick? That's the hard drive where some omnipotent being is storing our entire existence. Think about it, folks. Every time your Wi-Fi lags, that's just God hitting the snooze button on his cosmic alarm clock. Pair of 3D glasses. Man, but wait, there's more. Ever wondered why deja vu feels like hitting the replay button on your favorite YouTube video? It's because someone up there accidentally hit rewind while binge watching our simulation. Confetti in the air. Man, so next time you're stuck in traffic or waiting in line at the grocery store, just remember, you're not really late for work. You're just experiencing a buffering issue in the Matrix. A switch labeled reality and laughs maniacally. Man, until next time, remember to like, subscribe, and always question your existence. This is the Conspiracy Theorist, signing off from the cosmic hard drive of life. Stay woke, my friends. Black as the man disappears into the shadows, leaving behind a trail of glitter and existential crisis.
I believe that was a Pixels, Paranoia, Projections, and Pandemonium was the name of that podcast. I'm not
Good
sure.
grief.
So
It's a lot to take in.
It's a lot to take in. Apparently, we're inside a hard drive in Abram Wigan in the realist reel.
That does sound. It would make a lot of sense. I'm flabbergasted that we don't exist. I'm gonna have to take a minute on this one.
But here's why. The fabric of space-time was warped by the random generation of a room that became sentient. It seems that...
Is it that room over there?
Well, there's a space where the room used to be.
Well, there's a room over there in that cafe just having a coffee.
Unrelated. That's probably the
Okay.
Makefield Jiu-Jitsu Academy.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, actually, yeah, he's wearing a crown and a scepter provided by Fierce Burns Jewels. It seems to have left a tear in the fabric between the real reel and the realist reel, though. Us being in the real reel and the potato USB analogy applying to the realist reel.
Let's take a look. But first, some content. Can you give the good people some context for this content?
Yes. Beef has obviously demanded that even though we don't exist, we push forward with the Larry content as is only necessary for such a loss. So let's get on with it.
Republican actor Vince Vaughn.
Here is some content about the character Larry from The Simpsons.
Yes, quick one. Simpsons roasting on an open fire. This is season 1, episode 1. They're in Moe's bar. Sam is sleeping. Barney is sashaying like a pig. He is more of a pig than me. Very Bashki, I say. We get a very Ralph Bashki kind of Barney. Looking a lot like Dangerfield. We zoom past Larry like he ain't there. He looks sadly on and rubs his face. Homer says he never occurred like he would again. Mo, see, you're a pig. They're all ignoring Larry. Barney's a pig. Larry's a pig. He's third building, I say. They were all pigs. So he does get a mention right there early on.
Yeah, I might have got this wrong. This might not be the roasting on open fire episode. It might be the babysitting episode, which was the first one they ever did, but it was so poorly done that they had to redo it, so it ended up being the last one of the season.
Oh, okay.
So technically, he's in the first episode. I think he still is in the first episode because I know we definitely looked at Sam in the bar in the first episode, and there was like real music playing and stuff. But yeah, I thought Larry was a name that had just been established off screen. To be honest, it's quite nice that straight up first season he's named. Maybe there were more plans back when they only had like 30 characters at this point. Maybe there were big plans for Larry and Sam, and then you start bringing in people like Sideshow Bob and Sideshow Raheem and Pinchy and Bar Belfry, and then before you know it, there's no time for Larry.
Indeed. But what's your take on that first interaction with him?
Yeah, well, I think the fact that Mo refers to him in first name terms would suggest that there is a world where The Simpsons really was a bar, Cheers, if you like, in cartoon form, a bar-based comedy set around Homer Simpson and his pals. Can I swear on this podcast?
Yeah, please do.
Well, I was going to say shooting the shit. Do you know what I mean? Maybe expressing political views, poking fun at the politicians of the day. Maybe that was a whole other, show that we never got. And so Larry would have been integral to that, obviously, as I guess he would have been like the norm, the fat guy who drinks a lot. But
yeah.
Maybe, and then Sam could have been the postman guy. That's why, it don't make sense if you think about it. They're all analogues for Cheers characters. Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah, the use of the first name is key, I think. Yeah.
I do think Larry and Sam, but this is Larry, suffered from the kind of Bartmania thing happening, where around like mid-season 2 they realised that Bart was the kind of big ticket item, so they'd shifting the stories that way. So Homer didn't get as much. He still did, obviously, but they didn't do the standard Cheers thing where every episode, Homer goes and talks to his friends at Moe's about what's going on. They kind of shifted it to be, Bart and Milhouse and Nelson, etc. In many ways, Wendell is the Larry of the child group.
Anyways, I think that was an interesting shift of the times, though, that you can imagine an 80s version being very talk heavy with them sat at the bar, and then the 90s was more extreme, and the skateboarding child gets 90% of the screen time.
Yeah, I don't think it's that much of a stretch to say that Michael Jackson killed Larry. He was the forefront of Bartmania.
Sure.
And look where we are now. They're both dead.
Hi, it's me, Gradually Poncho, Modcast regular, sponsor, race host, and cast enthusiast. Fun fact, in the said Bartman song, Larry can be seen dancing. Who is he dancing directly next to, you might ask? That's right, Gradually Poncho will know sorry that's wrong. It's Maud Flanders. Put that in your bush and smoke it.
I wonder,
Allegedly.
would Larry, he looks like the kind of guy that would enjoy, you know, the music of Jackson Brown.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Talking of Jacksons. Yeah, anyway, just a thought. That's
Yeah.
not.
Nothing as complex as your Steely Dan's.
No, he's too drunk. He needs it to be easy. I don't think he really listens to what he's listening to, but he needs it to sound pleasing to his ears.
Yeah. Clip 2 gets hit by a car.
That's about sad, yes.
Season 2, episode 10. Bard gets hit by a car. We get a good look at Larry's sleepy face popping up the bar. Sam in the foreground, Larry with Herman and Homer sitting at the bar, always scowling. Well, that's it. Larry looks on, observing wisely. Homer says, well, I guess this is the glass I'm going to die in. While you're both off, says Scowly Mo, as Marge thrusts open the door and the beasts begin to howl and whoop. Barney, Herman. Barney makes no sense because he definitely knows who she is. Larry speaks and says something like, ooh, chicky, woo.
Yeah, just like, ooh, chick, or woo,
Most
chick.
expressive we ever see him, and it's not even ladies' night. He looks all groggily punctured up and he says something else.
That is true. This is a more classic, like this is traditional Larry. The first Larry was a little bit, it was still in the realm of season 1, like the kind of, I don't want to say crappiest because it's not, but the sort of loosest designs. This is like the first clean Larry we're seeing, really, isn't it? And I do like that he gets to keep, he's one of those characters that they designed in season 1, so he's got some weird stuff like the thin strands of hair that they don't really do on newer character designs, so it's nice to see those old designs kind of last and keep going forward until they are killed off for clout by Michael Jackson.
Yeah. What's your take on this beef?
I just noticed he's got that shading next to his ear. That's not growth, is it? That's more to sort of show, is it a cheekbone or a sort of, do you know what I mean?
I wouldn't put that past him. A little bit of.
I think it's.
Has he missed a bit of where he's been? Yeah, what is that?
I think it's supposed to be like sideburns, which Mr. Burns would hate. He would not let him play on the baseball team.
Oh yes, look, he's got sideburns. Yeah, I noticed.
Well,
that's a choice, isn't it? That's him, sort of. Yeah.
That looks like someone. They're going for someone who is clinging onto her. It seems with that design, like keeping what he's got.
Well, they actually gave him more in the latest episode where they want to do this kind of like parting. They actually gave him more hair, which is an interesting choice.
A face forward, Larry.
What about him being a bit of a dog hound?
I mean, chick, yeah. I mean, maybe that was what people did in 1991. Did people say chick? Oh, Happy Days was on TV a lot at the time. Maybe it was, hey, chicky baby.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, it's not something I've ever said personally, but I was younger.
Never even thought it.
No.
I concur. I think that they just wanted some people to be ugly, and there wasn't a thing about him that said no, we can't use him. Like, it's not like they used, like Flanders and Reverend Lovejoy, etc. They just used who was available, and it doesn't feel too out of character. And it also, if they did this in season 35, it wouldn't feel that out of character for Larry, given what we learn about him in his last hurrah, as we will call it.
It does sound like the kind of thing that in his darkest days, in his worst moments, he might have done.
I will also note that Sam is basically present for every one of these clips that isn't from the last episode. So make of that what you will. We'll come on to Sam.
I will indeed. Clip 3, Duffless. Angry Mo is in a bar. We hate him, right? Barney's right there. Big step up in animation, I say. But 2 Larrys. I know you want to talk about this as 2 Larrys. Grrr, they say. Gary, Aja, oh Mo, give me a beer. Hey everybody, Homer's back. Both Larrys have a mumbling and have sad baggy eyes, and they pan to a parade of good time drunks who we never see again, including Sam and Larry shamedly covering his face, Barney looking down at his beer. He never drank again.
Exactly. This is like season 4. I don't know how this got through the animation test. That there were only 2 barflies and they needed 3, so they just replicated Larry. but it does open up a whole thing for us as speculators that maybe Sam was never friends with Larry and he was friends with this guy. So whenever you see Sam interacting with someone, it's that guy who we're going to call
Barry.
Drinking Barry or Drinking Dave.
Barry.
Yes,
Oh.
Dobby. And so maybe it is true that Sam and Larry were never friends. This is the only piece of evidence we can cling to for that, though. I don't know what the explanation is in world for this other than that. But if that was the case, it just complicates things even further. Why was this guy also not at the funeral? Who is clearly a relation? Beef?
Beef.
Is this your first experience of two Larrys?
Yeah. I mean, well, I can't believe they didn't use that as the explanation as to why Sam wasn't at the funeral. That he wasn't friends. He was friends with this guy, Dobby. Did you say?
Yeah, so Drinking Dave or Barry.
Yeah, drink. He's got a slightly different coloured jacket, so they have made some effort to differentiate him.
The lowest.
And he's not. He looks slightly younger actually because he hasn't got the bags under the eyes, and he's got a bit more going on with his hair. It's kind of like it's layered, isn't it?
Yeah, it could well be his son, to be honest, or his twin.
Yeah, it does look. Yeah, I'd say maybe. You know, he's brought his kid down, and Sam's like, "Oh, so you know, how's school going?" You know, yeah, because look at Sam's posture. He's leaning in very intently. You know, he's really grilling the kid. Yeah. I mean, I can't. It's not just laziness on the part of the animators, you know. So that's son of. I mean, has Larry got kids? Does that come up in the funeral episode? I don't know. Or
it does not. It just kind of comes up that he's very lonely. But Natalie Blue Manticore has a theory. She thinks it might be a future Larry or a past Larry or a ghost.
Time displaced Larry.
Yes, it's like a glitch Larry in the way that we kind of said when Maud Flanders, our cousins died. Things kind of glitched and something happened where it allowed a real world incident to occur. So maybe this is what is happening here, that there's some kind of Larry glitch. But I'm pushing for son. That's what I'm going for with my heart of hearts. And it's just maybe strange. The only relative we see at the funeral is his mother. Nobody else comes other than Marge, Homer, and the Barflies that aren't Sam.
I'm only thinking that if they'd have wanted to push that loneliness aspect, it would have been up prime to suggest that he did have a family that he had alienated.
Yeah, the whole thing about him being lonely, and so that's why Sam wasn't there, because he needed to make him lonely, doesn't really make sense. Could have just still done that and said, like, had Sam literally say, "Oh yeah, we weren't actually close. We just sat next to each other." Oh yeah, I didn't even know his name. I thought he was called Drinking Dave.
Indeed.
But yeah, I'm happy with this. I'm happy with this accident because it gives us more chances to see Larry. And there's all this hoopla. There's no reason Larry won't just be in the bar next week. The only character, as we've said before, the only character they've really permanently killed off is Maud Flanders. There's 2 or 3 that they've killed. Like they killed Dr. Nick in the film, and then he's just back. Yes, I know. Also, the benefit an episode has now aired since, and Larry's urn was present in Most Haven.
I repeat, brilliant.
So, and in fact, I'll save this for the clip that it's relevant to. But it happens again within a Larry clip, which is just an affront to Larry, really, or maybe a teaser to say he isn't really dead.
I do get the feeling that this is supposed to be thought of as a final, like a Maud level event.
It does seem that way.
Yes.
Sad.
Two Larrys and one we never see again. And it's interesting because they could have easily. I mean, it's not a mistake that you could easily miss. I hope you lost an arm for that.
Yes, blunders.
Clip 4, Season 8, Episode 9, Ervilles, Majazo Mysterio de Nestro Yome. Well defined, more. We see Lenny White, Carl Black. I'm a crony. Oh, so he goes around the bar and asks what the relationship is, and whether they're friends to Homer. And Carl says, "I'm an acquaintance." Lenny says, "I'm a crony." Lenny growls, what sounds like commie sympathizer, but I believe it's not. And some of the other guys say some other stuff as well. These guys, Larry's mouth opens, but Sam speaks or something like that. And I think we may have seen this clip last time round as well. The guys talk for each other. There's a story there for sure.
Yeah, there's something. I've seen a lot of things about Larry only having one line online, and it's like the "hey chick" thing, and this disproves that immediately because he clearly says something out loud here. it was just a time when they needed a lot of people who Homer knows to say things, and the bar was the best example. So this is one of the only times in 35 years where they thought, yeah, we do need this guy to speak. I can't remember what he says, to be honest. I don't know if he says like something adjacent to friend, which
He says colleague. I wrote down. Which,
oh yeah,
and
colleague.
the definition of colleague is a person with whom one works in a professional business,
Interesting.
and that's not Larry. Yeah, so
Maybe he either doesn't know what colleague means, or he thinks that maybe he does work at the plant, and we just never hear about him.
Or maybe he thinks they all work at the bar,
Maybe
and that's what's happening. Like he's a
terribly
drinking
mistaken.
colleague, but it also kind of goes against what happens in the Larry episode. Is that he's really lonely, and like it's clear that he's friends with these barflies, and he's going home and telling his mum how they're his best friends and stuff. But here he's saying that Homer is simply a colleague.
He didn't want to say friend, right? So I think that was the game. So it was more like a little bit of banter, I think, than anything.
Yes, this is Larry being cheeky. But this might be the most personality we see out of him in the time that we knew him. We also haven't touched upon the fact that he is a drug smuggler. No, sorry, he's not. He's a jewel smuggler.
Do you think he was sitting there with those sharp things up his bum like all the time, or is this a recent thing?
I think it's a recent addition that could be retconned into the entirety of the show. In that that's the joke basically, and this has happened with some of our other casters, like none of which I can give you an example of right now. But oh yeah, that guy, he's always been doing that. You just didn't know about it.
Sure.
So I do like that he has the closest thing he's got to a job is some kind of connection to Fat Tony and this jewel smuggling thing. So he's obviously way more interesting than they're giving him credit for as well, which is what they discover in the episode, is that, oh, this guy's actually got some interesting stuff going on. We just didn't know about it, and he doesn't talk about it. And it's kind of the opposite of what we said about Sam, really, is that Sam is just a kind of, like run-of-the-mill truck driver he is just the guy who drinks at the bar. So it is interesting that we now have Larry as the guy that you think is just the quiet guy drinking at the bar, but he's actually, got a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes.
It does seem like they just added a random character trait.
Yes, it's certainly not something we at the Mordcast would ever do.
Oh, look, there's Infant Froom. What does he do? He likes marshmallows?
He's scared of roller coasters. He always has been since day one.
It's interesting that every clip so far, he's essentially could have been swapped out for literally anybody else, though.
Yeah. Before we come up to the death episode, do you have anything to add, Beef, before we get into the actual, what I will call new Larry? Is there anything about old Larry you will specifically miss?
Just once they start adding these layers, this jewel smuggling nonsense, and even the fact that they killed him off, it just then taints classic Simpsons. When you go back and watch season 2 now, you'll be like, oh, that's Larry, he's dead. Do you know what I mean? I mean, that's a problem with wider Hollywood anyway, in terms of sequels and reboots, because then the tweaking characters, which then has an impact on the original source material.
Agreed.
Not a fan. Just he was perfectly suspended in amber. You know what I mean? They had him there, and
it is a baffling choice to have killed him. I think they maybe wanted to just do this thing about, they wanted to talk upon one of the background characters not being. The closest everything I do is compare things to Lost, but the closest thing I think of is that episode of Lost, which is about those two extras basically, and what they've been up to for the entire series, and just mooching around in the background and stuff. It's kind of like they wanted to do that kind of episode where they say, hey, this guy's got stuff going on too, but it is sad that it fell upon Larry and not somebody less impactful is a strange word to use, but what you say, you go back and watch the first episode of The Simpsons and this guy is in it, and now going forward he's not a part of that. It happened with Edna too. Edna's the other big example I can think of, but that was just sort of real life impact. I don't think they had any intention of getting rid of Edna. But it is sad to go back and watch early episodes where Edna has a big role, and you're like, oh, this cannot be anymore. But I see it more as a soap now than an animated series, and that it is just going to keep going. And I'm kind of intrigued to see what they do with it. But my appeal to the new Simpsons is, I think I said this to you the other day, Beef, and it's more about what I can get out of it for the modcast and the cast than the actual episodes themselves.
Right. So it's not a source of humour to you. It's more
Transaction.
yeah, it's a transactional relationship. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's little character points. I mean, I was because we'll get to the death scene in a minute where they use a Beatles song. Like, who actually watches it? Is it because I was wondering, like the children know who the Beatles are? Would they get this reference? Is it watched by adults these days? Yeah.
I don't even know who they're aiming it for as an audience. It feels like they now have strayed towards aiming it towards people like me, or people like us. Who?
So how would you describe people like you?
That's a deep well.
People specifically watching it for information to make podcasts about.
Right.
Possibly, yes, but also, just like nostalgia hounds or people like I grew up watching it and they're aiming it at the people. Like a lot of people who grew up watching it have taken the beef approach, which is, we'll just watch the good ones. Whereas some people like I have just continued to watch it regardless of quality or entertainment value. So I think they're aiming it at people because a lot of stuff in the newer ones is like a lot of the better stuff is stuff where they do something like non-Simpsons or it's like a callback to something from the back in the day.
I think the thing for me is if they'd been adding layers and bits all the way through and then all these characters had really rich stories, you might let them get away with it. But like a soap opera, they just add bits and pieces whenever they feel like it, right? And then those things are often forgotten. And I mean, it is a comedy show at the end of the day, right? And they need to reset it at the end of every episode. But
they could have done this with the likes of Chalmers, though, where they have had a character be developed over like the 35 years, like with episodes occasionally. Even like Disco Stew, somebody like that. But they pick somebody where they would have the least impact, but still be impactful. Like we'll pick one of the guys who has literally just been there for 35 years, and we'll off him for clout. He's
a bit of cop-out, isn't it, in that sense? But then that brings us to the actual episode, because there was a lot of stuff they could have done, and here's what they did do. So clip one from
here's what we got.
Here's what we got. Clip 5, season 35, episode 15, Remains of the Day. Mo is angry. He slams down a bottle on the bar. Lenny, Carl, Homer are at the bar. Larry is share my screen. Yeah, so Mo is angry. He slams the bottle down. He goes, he's got Lenny, Carl, Homer at the bar. No Barney, no Sam. But Larry is sitting there. Mo shouts, "Get the hell out of here!" and he kicks them out. And I was like, and he mops the top of the bar, and they take the hint. I'm thinking, is it morning? Have they been there all night? What? This doesn't make any sense. Larry does not move. Mo then tries to kick him out. Still no movement. So Mo puts a mop into
him with a mop.
Mo puts the mop into his face. There's a weekend at Larry's. Mo, he does not move, and then he slumps. He slaps the mop right into his face. Still no response. He slumps. The strings sound, and Lenny White Cow Black looks back. Mo pops him in his head with the handle of the broom. There's a photo of Otto on the wall, I pointed out, which was interesting, with Apu. He pokes him in the eye. It squishes. A man who looks like Carl but sounds completely different says, "I don't like the sound of that squish." Homer says, "I think Larry's dead," as Larry slumps to the bar.
Indeed.
What did you think, Dave?
Calls him Slumpo.
Well, just one wider point before I get to the actual the meat of the matter. You picked up on Carl's voice not sounding like Carl. Is that right? Yeah, I picked. Whoever says, whoever's doing the voice for Lenny, I wrote this down. Lenny sounds tired, I wrote. Okay. I don't know whether that's the actor's aged or is there something off with the voice work on this? I don't know. But that was weird.
They all do sound tired. Carl is a new voice as well, but the most Carl and Hibbert got the worst brunt of it in that they sound absolutely nothing like Carl and Hibbert. A few of them are okay, but yeah.
Yeah, he sounded old and frail. It was quite saddening. It's kind of a shock to the system. Lenny used to be so piffy and full of vim and vinegar, didn't he? And now he's just a tired old man. The animation, though, in terms of the poking and the squelching, anytime you get somebody being poked in the face with a stick, it's great, isn't it? It's classic.
Yeah, it's classic.
Laurel and Hardy, Three Stooges-esque, it harks back to the golden age of vaudeville. Yeah, it's beautiful stuff. wonderfully rendered. I felt. Like, look, I mean, if you look at the individual wrinkles on on Larry's face, you know, they've gone to every trouble to really.
Can you see the squelch lines and everything?
Although, just you have to refresh my memory. When they poke him in the stick and then they remove the stick, does the eyeball return to its? Does it retain some damage, or is it?
I think it just goes back to normal.
I think it sort of slowly unsquishes. They also don't say how he dies. I left that bit in. There is like a full clip where they're watching like American football for like the entire night, and that's why. Oh no, sorry, he says they open at 6 a.m. So the entire day they are watching football, but it does show Larry at the start using motion. Like, so he's not dead at the start of this clip, but by the end he has died.
Okay.
But they don't establish how.
Oh, so we see it. We see it happen.
Yeah, you see Larry's last. You see him have a drink in the opening of this scene, and then the next time you see Larry, he is being poked in the eye. So, what do you think caused it, Beef? Any speculation as to how Larry did die?
I mean, I'm no doctor. Well, I've seen a corpse. I mean, not go into too much detail, but I had a heart attack, and I was one of the people who discovered the body. And it was, you know, there was the eyes were bulging, you know, the mouth was agape. It was clear there'd been some sort of shock, you know, to the system, as it were. So it can't be that. Is he's sat upright though? He's supporting his own weight. Yeah,
apparently.
He is. He could have gone into that state of rigor mortis, though, already. Rigor mortis.
Maybe it was like brain related. Maybe, you know, something snapped, because that wouldn't necessarily show on the face based on what I know. I mean, you've really put me on the spot here.
The writers would have talked about it, though. You would imagine the writers would have said, "Do we make this a point of how?" Because this has become a. Sorry, go on. They tiptoed around the fact that he's a heavy drinker who died in a bar. They kind of didn't really make a big deal of the fact that, because now they're all going to go back to Moe's the next week, and if they'd made any kind of point, it would have been completely undermined by whatever happened in every other episode past this.
I mean, you would think too, if somebody did die, the next time they go in the bar, they'd be like, "Oh, don't sit there. That's where Larry died." Do you know what I mean? I'd like to see them refer to it. They might keep the urn. I think the Larry urn will now be a part of Moe's. They have done this a few times though. Now it's kind of getting tedious. Like post-mord, everybody who's died pretty much has died of like this. Like the kind of only one that makes sense is Edna, because she died in real life. But they did this with Krusty's dad as well, where he just died and they never established like why. He just died mid-scene. They've done it a couple of times where you just find like the scene is they just died, whereas, you know, some people get absolutely railed off the back of a stadium.
Yeah. Sometimes it just happens, doesn't it? Sometimes you just need a plot and you don't want to put too much effort into it or make any sort of social point whatsoever.
Yes. You don't want Sam and you don't want it to be too sad. But let's do it. Let's kill him.
We want it to be, the loneliness to be on our terms.
Yes.
And so he is done. And then we see the big centerpiece of the episode, which I think must be an animation reference to something, but I couldn't quite work out what it was. And so it's all the lonely chickens. All the lonely barflies. We see stained glass, we see Larry drinking alone, and a convoluted version of history that doesn't include Barney or Sam plays out, where we see Homer, Carl, Lenny and Moe jostling on each other's shoulders and playing jousting, and comedically Moe brings a shotgun to the pool cue joust. And then there's a kind of pretty poor Beatles parody about him checking his phone all alone and eating chicken chow mein, and all the lonely Larrys again, kind of like half a point being made. They kind of like, all right, so he's lonely, but we're not really going to do anything about that. And then we see him, with his chicken chow mein while the boys are walking past from the baseball, and I'm thinking like, so they did just not invite him? Because that does seem a bit mean. And then he goes up to his house. He walks past them throwing snowballs and having fun. And they basically do like beer ruined Homer, beer ruined Barney. And so they've done beer ruined someone like many, many times. And this is just another version of beer has ruined. And I was thinking, have they ever done a Carl or Lenny being ruined by beer? But they seem to have survived, other than Lenny obviously lives in a way that he doesn't want anyone to know about.
It's time.
So he goes up to his bed, his cracked walls, and again I said, is this a Basquiat reference? Because he does all those kind of like muted colours and the kind of like realism, half real. He sadly slips into bed, and then some white stuff splats on his face, and he opens his eyes.
It's a snowball.
There's a what is snowball. Beef, what did you make of this montage?
This is just the worst, isn't it? I absolutely. I mean, I bet when they did this as well, it's like, you know, have you ever watched the making of The Phantom Menace, that behind the scenes documentary, and they're all high-fiving each other? They're really cool.
I think so. I was talking about that on the other day. Is that the one where George Lucas says, like, the reason we decided to do the underwater thing is because we hadn't done underwater before. We'd done snow. So what was left? We'd done fire. So underwater is the only one left. And then we thought, why not have racist rabbits in there as well, just to make it fun for everyone. So that's the one.
It's a great documentary. It's a tremendous documentary. Yeah, you can imagine them like, oh, we've really put this, we've cracked this, the Beatles, yeah, look, and we've really nailed it. It's terrible. I mean, it's not. I'm not a massive Beatles fan, but I hate this song anyway. The original one. It's just whatever. It's just like a reference for the sake of a reference. Do you know what I mean? It's like Family Guy. It's like, it's just, oh, remember the A-Team? Like that's a joke. I mean,
exactly.
I feel like it's in here. Go on, sorry.
The animation, it is obviously a reference to something. The way it's sort of stylized.
Yeah.
I don't know what. And then there's a cracking face forward Simpsons as well when he gets into his bed.
I agree.
The address is actually, you can make out his address, can't you? Is it? And I wondered, is that part of? I mean, somebody with a wider knowledge of sort of Simpsons lore and canon. Does anybody else live in that area of Springfield? Is that somewhere we've been before? We've seen on screen depicted.
Not that I know.
I wondered if it was a reference to something that was being, you know, like the actual thing that's being parodied that none of us can work out. I didn't know if that address was maybe tied to that. 652 8th Avenue.
Yeah, which is a really strange.
I'm going to write that down. I'm going to dig it. 52.
Yeah.
According to that top link there, it's a real address.
Okay, so basically it's a reference to the place where Kurt Hardwick and Ethan Ballantyne live. Now, did they write this episode? Or did they?
I think they're the guys from Flight of the Conchords, which makes it even less.
It is. You're right. It is. It's a reference to Flight of the Conchords,
which is even stranger.
So when they were in The Simpsons, they lived in the same apartment that Larry now lives in. Is that?
I guess
it seems that's what we're going for, yeah. But wow. I don't know why that. Well, I don't know why.
So the image here we've got is a guy reading a magazine called Crime with a gun on the front, and I think the joke is that he's holding the gun, and it's not on the magazine.
The joke is that it's Sprooklyn, so it's maybe like renovated, rundown apartments, which again doesn't really add to what they're going for with Larry at all.
I imagine it's a reference that it's urban blight, which doesn't really make sense because it's actually quite nice, although he's got a little bit of stuff falling off the walls and stuff. But it's certainly, they could have done a way more rundown thing if they wanted to, you know, kind of make their case.
I think this entire montage is in here because they couldn't use actual archive footage of Larry, because all of them would have shown him being a part of things and having Sam with him. As you'll see in like the bonus stuff in a bit, everything he's involved in everything that goes on in Moe's. And the thing about him not being invited to baseball and stuff, I kind of see Homer, Lenny, and Carl are friends from work who go drinking at Moe's, and Moe is the bartender. So it kind of makes more sense to me that, you know, these are just guys who also drink at the same bar where Homer and his friends drink. So why would they invite him to do external activities? It just depends on how much they want to push. Is Larry truly a friend that was ignored, or is he just a barfly from the same bar? Would you think, what do you stand now with all this information on Sam and Larry Beef? Do you think that they are friends and it wasn't acknowledged, or do you think that they are now establishing that was never a friendship?
I think it's undeniable that, because we've got 35 years of evidence that they are friends hanging out in the same bar. Yes. And I think it just because if they'd have had to, they didn't have room in the episode for Sam, so they just thought, oh, sod it, we'll just leave him out. Because that's what The Simpsons is these days. It's just, they're just churning out, knocking out this crap, and they don't care about the wider picture, and they don't expect people to think that deeply about it. You know, it's just boom, 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 knock it
Well,
out. Yeah.
The official explanation was basically it would have been too much writing to put Sam in the episode.
So
that's not a
they
good
couldn't be
take.
bothered doing the jobs properly. Oh,
Yeah, it would have been too much hassle for us as a storyline creator to create that storyline.
That's something. Imagine getting pulled up at work and being asked, "Why have you not done that?" And he said, "Oh, well, I just, it's couldn't be bothered."
It'd be too much.
It's unbelievable.
That was essentially the reason that was given, is that they put Barney in Venezuela so they could keep the car to just the four bros. So when it came to Sam, they were just completely out of energy. But let's just no one will notice. No one will even care. I think genuinely that's probably what they thought, is no one will give a shit. It's season 35, and then apparently the internet, and it turns out that people still, it's offended new Simpsons fans or people who still watch The Simpsons because it's an affront to continuity. And it's also offended old Simpson fans by just doing it and taking something from the old. So, not the best death episode we've ever seen.
No.
But, same Lovejoy.
It's generated interest, which I suppose was the original aim. So
possibly. I think they've given up on interest, though. I think,
Right.
like you say, I think they're just doing it because it's still carry. Nobody wants to be the person that says, this is stopping, everybody is fine, just putting out this kind of quality, and people like me are fine ingesting it.
Well, here's
So,
the thing, though. We've
it's
talked about
decided.
this before, is that Batman, Superman, and all those big heroes, they go through lulls, sometimes 5, 10, 15 years or whatever, and they come back, right? The Simpsons had enough like mini lows and mini highs and mini lows to keep it kind of bobbing along, and it clearly makes enough money and generates enough interest for them to kind of keep doing it. And I just wonder, I've said this before, if there is a way to turn it back and bring back some of that golden era, or whether the way that Superman can be done by a single writer. This can't, because there's a team of writers, and so you can never turn that around once that shine was lost.
What did surprise me is a lot of the original staff from those kind of golden days are still involved, whereas I thought the problem was that it was an entirely new team of people who didn't understand what had happened in the past. That's why you end up with Ned and Edna pretending that they've never spoken before and stuff. But no, turns out quite a lot of people still work there. And I think it's just, there was a lot of time where there were a lot of people just banded on that, just end it, let's cancel it, let's let it die, including me. And then it just kind of continued going, and now it's a state of acceptance. It's like, okay, it's carrying on, so let's see what they're pushing out.
Yeah, I mean,
sometimes good, sometimes Eleanor Rigby.
Indeed. So we go to the church is the next kind of big thing, but we kind of skip forward that in our clips, and you focused on the bit where there's the kind of like convoluted adventure that basically they needed to do to justify this being any sort of episode, or more to the point, to avoid having to write a decent episode about losing a friend. Instead, just turn it into a dual heist romp in which just awful.
Only for like
decisions.
It's like the last 8 minutes of the episode as well. It's not a dual romp at all until that point. At that point, it is just them four not really being like grief struck again, because the point is that they didn't really care about Larry, but they're analysing whether or not they are a group of friends or whether they are just people who sit in a bar together and drink. So they do that for 10 minutes, and then Homer finds jewels in Larry's ashes. It goes off from there to being Larry was taking jewels across the border for Fat Tony. So Fat Tony has sent somebody off to the urn to retrieve the jewels.
Yeah, I know. That's very poor stuff, isn't it?
Actually, Blue Manticore asked me that. Did I just make that up on the spot? I did not. I also didn't get paid for it.
Beef, what did this do to you?
Well, I didn't actually know about the dual theft subplot until this moment. I've only seen them. I've seen the clip with the car rolling down the hill. But yeah, right. So I get what you're talking about earlier now about the dual theft thing. Right. I mean, I guess you could have had a really sensitively, tenderly drawn episode where they ruminate on what is a friend, and what it means to be part of a social group. But instead, I mean, it's the way of the world, and people, that's not gonna wash with today's today's crowd, I suppose. You want action. They need, in order for it to get, to avoid rejection from whoever signs off on these things. You need more action. You need, a car chase. You need a bit of zing. So they just add this on, and all it does, it just tarnishes the legacy of Larry. But this whole debacle, I just want to draw a veil over.
I just want to let him rest.
It's been so poorly handled, the whole thing, honestly. Oh my God.
Do you think they bring Sam back? Like, do you think the next time we see him, they briefly say, yeah, don't sit there, that was Larry's place, and then Sam's just back as if, like, because obviously they didn't expect this for Raw when they first started making these episodes, so they're not invested enough to have written that in the next episode. So do you think?
I mean, there's a really excellent opportunity here to do something really funny now with Sam, for him to come back in and hey, where's my mate gone? They won't do that though. They'll never mention it again.
That's how I thought this episode was going to end, with Sam coming in like a Hawaiian shirt, being like, oh, that was a great holiday. What have I missed? And then, Sam grieves off screen and then everything's back to normal next week. But no.
Great.
But I think the outroar that has happened online now will make a scene happen in the next season that does deal with this, just because they do that a lot more as well now recently. They'll take things that people are saying online and make that the satire of the episode. Like they've addressed the people saying that Ralph is not Chief Wiggum's son, he's like the other officer's son because of the hair. Could also be Larry's son technically. It'd be more forgivable if they didn't do this 24 years earlier with the only other kind of recurring character they've officially killed off. If they just, that exact same thing happened with Maud, where they did the first 7 or 8 minutes dealing with it, then they just went off on this wild tangent of Ned going on a string of meaningless dates, and then wrapped it back up at the very end with a sweet moment. So it's even
stuck in the right area though. It didn't feel the need to throw in some convoluted kind of jewel smuggling.
Yeah, that's doubly unforgivable. But have you said what happened? Oh no, you haven't done the what happens bit, and I'll say why I included it.
Well, basically, it's Larry is being held by some Clint Eastwood style ranger, and he's going to make sure that the forest is on fire. He's holding the urn, and I guess this is some fat Tony guy who's got the urn back. He says we're going to get rid of these loose ends, and he sticks him in the boot of the car, Homer in the boot of the car, I guess, and then just sends him off, rolling down this hill in the car. It rolls to Mo, Larry, and Carl are standing, looking glumly over a cliff edge. The car bounces past them, and the urn bounces past them and catches up to the car that Homer's in the trunk of, rolling down this same mountain. And then the urn bounces and sticks between the chassis of the car and the tire, thus stopping the car from moving, and avoids falling off the actual cliff. This was kind of like a pre-cliff. Larry saved your life. What can you say? Awful.
It's just, I left this in. This is live action regret right now, because there is a scene where they're all in a hotel and they're discussing what they think happens after you die and where Larry is gone. And Lenny sort of takes it the hardest in the episode and is sort of acting really friendly with the urn to kind of compensate not being nice enough to Larry. So there is some stuff earlier on that kind of does it, but I left this in because this is Larry's biggest Simpsons moment, in the sense of having an impact on a plot, in that it is Larry, whether it's his urn or not, and it's just gravity. It's the most direct impact he's ever had on a story, in that he's saved Homer's life.
Indeed. If you got to go in a minute, I imagine. What's your thoughts on this part of the show? That pub lunch must be calling you.
Yeah. Well, no, I think there's talk of a barbecue today, Northwich. So it's not a pub lunch. It's a lunch of sorts.
It's outdoor.
I mean, I'm glad in a way I'm glad the episode happened, because it's drawn focus on Larry, who, the type of character that we're all on this podcast drawn to, the unsung hero of the show, much in the same vein as your Leopolds and your Sam, Sideshow Rahims and that. But yeah, the way it's been, I mean, we touched on it, the Eleanor Rigby things as well, the jewels, Larry's mum we've not talked about. I did enjoy the way she's kind of rendered as like a dinner lady type woman, quite round, short hair. I've got credit where it's due. They've not gone for generic old woman. They've made a choice there, which
they've made her more of a character than Larry, really.
Yeah, it's a decent character design, right?
He calls her Iris Dalrymple when he introduces her. So I thought they were like, when I initially watched it, I was like, oh, that must be a person, and they're saying like, oh, Larry is actually the son of this famous woman. But it's not really. It's just they just decided his surname was Dalrymple.
Well, that brings me to mind because the executive played by Bob Balaban in Seinfeld is called Russell Dalrymple. Yeah, exactly. Mark's favorite, Bob Balaban. But that's just a coincidence.
Yeah, I think they just picked a random surname, but initially I did think the woman was somebody. But yeah, I agree, Beef. It's nice that I think that's where they were trying to do the heartstring tugging, was introducing this kind of kindly mother who had a different view of who Larry was. Instead of Sam just being up there saying, Sam was my best friend, he loved you all. What do you think, guys? And then they have to try to convince Sam that they were, not only are they friends with Sam, they were friends with Larry. But no, let's steal some jewels up our ass.
So poor on so many levels when you had a friend there that they could have. The more I think about it, the more I think, well, it's just a TV show, and not even one that you watch. But,
the angrier, I guess.
But it's just so many poor choices.
Look at all the lovely barflies. Look at all the lovely barflies. Larry the Barfly sat at his stool every night, and he ordered a beer, shedding a tear. Look at him eating, shaking his food all alone, as he thinks with his pain, she shall mine. All the lonely Larrys, they all come to an end. All the lonely Larrys were done by their friends. Part 2. All the lonely barflies confronting mortal dread, their souls in need of searching, they booze it up instead.
That's brilliant, Wobbly. Booze it up instead. Rest in peace, Larry. Simpsons burning on a Remember, Larry reminded me of that episode of Father Ted where Father Stone always came round and he did that little wee painting of himself, like a little tiny version of himself being held by Ted.
I can see that being given the most recent episode. That was the kind of thing Larry was feeding to his mother. Apparently, is that that he feels held by this group of friends who don't even see him. Which I think maybe he was just telling his mum that so that she thought he had a group of friends, but Larry didn't particularly care about himself having a group of friends. He was quite happy just smuggling his jewels.
Oh yeah.
Did you listen to the?
Oh yeah, you bet I did.
We'll discuss that after art.
God, you know, Father, Paul thinks the world of you. Oh, DT does. He never stops talking about you. Father Ted says this, Father Ted says that.
You can intersperse that with bits of the mother talking about the fishing, if you want.
I will do. Yeah, they were similar. Maybe it's a trope.
A trap. We didn't get to talk about Ghost, Larry.
No, this is a Larry. This is a Larry I enjoy. It's kind of wraps up the whole. I've only just realised there's some kind of African American Millhouse grandparent in the background.
Yeah. Delightful.
Millhouse parent white. This man not. It sort of does the entire Maud post-death thing immediately, which is sort of a product of the times that back when Maud Flanders died, they didn't particularly have that much supernatural stuff going on outside of Trace of Horror, whereas now they're sort of way more open to. These are still just sort of ideas that Lenny and Carl and Homer are prospecting what happens after you die. Maud says nothing. Maud says that it's just black, and but slightly funnier than that. And Lenny thinks he is just kind of knocking about as a helpful ghost, in a sort of similar to Casper is what they've gone for here, as opposed to similar to the Simpsons style of ghost, which is interesting. They've not gone for you. We've never seen a Maud or the rest of the dead ones in this format. We've seen like a green ghost Maud, obviously, but it's not Casper. And I think that's probably just because of Larry's hair resembling Casper somewhat. Everyone's favourite dead kid.
Delightful. Richie Rich, rest in peace.
I do like that Lenny is the one that kind of connected the most with Larry after he died, and he has sort of the best opinion of him out of the group. The rest of them are still just sort of pushing like, oh, it's just Larry. And Lenny is really trying to retcon his friendship with him.
Retcon friendship.
Yes, RF. So Lenny is sort of given Larry the nicest kind of montage in that he's doing this and then helping an ice skater land a jump and then putting his finger in some hot soup to cool it down.
Is that how ghosts work? I guess ghosts are they gave it a cold breeze, but I didn't think they were cold themselves.
There's not even any lines coming off them. Well, it's Lenny's speculation as to what Ghost Larry is doing, so it's nothing outside of Lenny's mind, really, in the same way that the Homer Angel and Larry Angel, which is the spoiler that gave it away when we got wind of this happening like 2 weeks prior to it, is that they said the synopsis was just Homer and the people at Moe's lose someone close to them, and then this was one of the like 4 pictures, so it sort of narrowed it down a little bit. This was the scene that I thought we might get some Landers action in, but we did not. It was just Homer and Larry Saturday Heaven Bar, which is quite Mordy. Whatever Larry's doing,
sports,
all of Larry's favorite. This is definitively, and this adds into the sort of heaven idea that I run with stuff like this anyway, is that heaven would be what that specific, they're all in the same heaven, but it looks different depending on the person. Like Maud, if she was in this room, it would look like, all those screens would be showing the Judgmental Hour or Davy and Goliath.
Or maybe the very racetrack where she was killed.
Maybe. Does look very similar, doesn't it?
Maybe she's even in there. Maybe there's a classic BOTH shot right behind Larry's head.
Maybe. He was there for that.
Really?
Yeah, spoilers, but not really. But he was there. Yeah, so it's sort of they wrapped it up. I forgot the last clip was one of the most important bits as well, and I was completely cut it out, but they realise that they take it to this waterfall that they think it is, and then they realise that it is in fact not that waterfall, and it is in fact Larry is sort of the one that's behind him almost, so they sort of realise that his special place all along was Moe's Tavern.
Did you say that the waterfall was just the painting behind his head at Moe's?
Essentially, or from the looks of things, it's a TV like playing a waterfall. And he has exaggerated the image that he is. Good drawer. We haven't touched on that. He's drawn this himself.
It's a very good likeness.
It could be that he ordered it though, considering his writing seems to be my special place, which is quite unartistic compared to the detail on the picture that has been drawn.
Yes, it's slightly incongruous. The Moe's Bros bit. Moe's Bros.
Yes, Moss Bros. The kids can call you Mobo.
So anyway, Larry's gone. Rest in peace. Beef, where does it go from here?
Yeah, I'd like to open up the floor to Beef for any rants and thoughts mostly.
I mean, I did look briefly on Twitter for to try and gauge public reaction to this. Patrick Weir says the Simpsons killed off Larry because of woke.
Yeah.
Your thoughts?
I can see it and I can not see it. If they wanted to be super woke, they would have gone hard on the no drinking thing. But they do have a new Carl, so I can't completely denounce it.
I think, from here, they have to. It's caused such a furore. They have to address the Sam thing. Like you say, he has to come back in now next series, and they'll make some. They'll refer to that. But I mean, who knows? Given the shoddiness of the product at this point, they probably won't mention it now for the rest of the series. They'll just carry on. There'll be some flipping, sea monster or something next week, and then Skinner will get, a robotic arm or something.
They've got stories for years.
Selma will marry the urn of Larry. No, I do think Larry will be in the bar still. I think he will just be either a picture on the wall or an urn instead of Larry himself. But the gag will be that Larry is still there. Yes, I know. Also, the benefit an episode has now aired since, and Larry's urn was present in Moe's Tavern.
I repeat, brilliant.
So, will you just scroll down a bit, Brendan? There's a picture that I would like Beef to look at just before we go. It's the next picture one. That, and also the one on the wall that never was, which is the next one, in which Larry appears to be wearing Sam's hat. Whoa. And I wanted to get your thoughts on what that was all about.
Wow, well, that must have been hijinks in the bar, I guess. Like, oh, give me your hat, mucking about, like, yeah. So sorry, the wall that never was. Then what is that? I'm not familiar with that.
I think they have a wall of has-beens, which is like former famous celebrities like Duffman and Tatum and stuff, and then the wall of never was is people who are just never famous.
Right. I mean, again, that can't be an oversight that they've just put Sam's hat on Larry, because they've got that Larry must have been dicking about in the bar when he had the photo took and he's put Sam's.
Maybe he's pretending to be Sam and he's commenting on how Sam never made it.
Yeah. The irony being Sam is also not in this. That Sam is not on this wall on a picture.
He didn't even make the wall that never was.
Right. So Sam was somebody.
Perhaps Sam perhaps Sam was a figment of Larry's imagination. Maybe they'll just go with that. Maybe that's what'll happen in the next season. What are you talking about, Sam? There was only ever one Barfly. There was Larry and the guy who looks like Larry.
I'd like to think that I think you're giving them too much credit there. I don't care. They're not going to do some, interdimensional episode about what is reality. Where do we go when we dream? Are friends real?
It's over for Larry. That's it. It's over for Larry, and it's almost definitely over for Sam. I'd like to touch. Oh yeah, we'll do it after the art. Touch on the stuff from the Sam cast.
No, let's do that now.
Let's do it. I don't really remember what we said.
We basically went over several of the clips that popped up in this one, but we more or less said that Larry and Sam were best buddies. We always saw them together, and we didn't really know much about Larry other than he was more of a sad sack, and Sam seemed to be maybe the one that was a little bit more lively.
Yeah, I'll just play it here.
You got the two Barflies in most time. You got Larry, I think the other guy is, with like the wavy hair and the lids, and then you got Sam who's like, he kind of dressed like a trucker kind of.
Sam, who's really Larry, has no drink, sits at the bar sadly looking at the wall. Is everyone okay with this, I say? Drinking a little tumbler of clear liquid, looking sad but tired and slouching a little.
That is what Larry looks like in that clip.
That is what Larry looks like. But Beef, tell us about clip one.
Well, it's a first introduction to Sam, isn't it? He's sat next to his pal at the bar where he's most comfortable.
But there's never really a reason to give Sam or Larry a line, because you've got Lenny, Carl, Barney and Mo in like the pecking order before him, especially now with like established characters. But this, if they hadn't have developed Lenny and Carl, this could have been the start of the Sam and Larry being the Lenny and Carl. Larry White, Sam database.
Cut to Larry and Sam. Bag-eyed Larry, commie sympathiser.
Archetypal drunks, aren't they? You've got, well, the other guy. See, Sam seems to hold it together pretty well. The other guy's just always gone, isn't he? Like he's got droopy eyes and his hair's all over the place. Like,
yeah, I thought that, but then we get the clip a little bit later where he interacts with the Duffman, the travesty. But everyone has a bad day.
He's gone too far that day. Yeah,
I can see him as an in and out of prison kind of guy.
That's controversial.
Earlier in his younger days,
in his truck driver days,
yeah, he's traversed the Springfield County floors a couple of times. Maybe also Larry. But
we find him in the park, having a smoke, watching the ducks. He says, "Sam, what do you do with yourself these days?" "Oh, I keep myself busy." Do you ever see Larry?" "No." "How's the dog?" "Oh, it died."
Why do you think they've gone with Sam rather than Larry for this scene? Because he is the more kind of boozy of the two, is he not?
Yeah, I think Sam might be more vocal. I feel like, I don't know if this is just because I've got clips for Sam as opposed to Larry, but I can't think of a single time Larry's spoken at all, whereas Sam's got at least 4 or 5 goes over 34 years. So maybe just because Sam was one who they already had a voice for, maybe? Or maybe they just flipped a coin, a Sacagawea coin.
Yeah.
And then he goes on and yes, he talks to Larry about some kind of new business plan.
Pocketing cash. I took it to mean some sort of pyramid scheme.
I don't think he's in business with Larry though, but you never know. It's an interesting thing if they were off hustling in the back rooms trying to put some cash together. But I think Sam, for all we know, he's the brains of that operation. He's alone, and Larry's not there.
Well, he is a no man. He is a man alone. That is Sam. So I'll give him that one. Yeah.
I imagine like there's been a lot of bar chokings on those eggs as well, because I imagine after you've had a few drinks, they look really appealing. But if you throw overly relaxed throat, I imagine if someone doesn't catch you, we've lost another one. We've lost another one to the eggs. I think Larry he's worth a dig into because he's the saddy. The thing is that it seems like Sam's got out of this relatively unscathed. If The Simpsons were ever to end, Larry and Sam should have a spin-off, a prominent role in the final episode.
Yeah,
I don't know if I
could
agree.
see that.
I don't think I agree with that.
All I can really remember is you speculated a pickled egg death, which could give us a reasoning for what happened because we still don't know how he went. And I did mention that Sam or Larry could in fact be repeated criminals, which turned out to be entirely true. So either this, maybe we've been had again. Maybe we plotted this episode unknowingly.
Bush's lad, innit?
It is. And Beef does mention once or twice the closeness of Sam and Larry, but then also does mention, I thought it was worth pointing out that there is a picture we look at, it was like a hand-painted realistic Moe's with everybody in there, but Larry isn't in there. And we saw that acknowledge that Sam is sort of a no-man, and maybe he doesn't actually need to be with Larry all the time. So we kind of came to a natural conclusion anyway that maybe they aren't best friends. It looks like they are, but maybe they aren't, was
That's
what
the
we kind
truth.
of established. And now, who'd have thought in this world of permanent characters that
Pure imagination.
he would be a goner?
Rest in peace, Larry. We barely knew you.
And the internet is took it harder than I thought that they would.
Yeah.
And we went over that anyway, didn't we? That we thought they would think nobody would care, and then it backfired.
Oh, we did indeed.
So yes, interesting.
We predicted.
foreshadowing.
We predicted in a way that was cool and groovy and better than what they did, which, to be honest, is not difficult.
Exactly.
Now, there was no Larry art, unfortunately, so I had to make my own before I got banned by chatbots. So I've made 4 Larrys, and I want you to tell me which one is the best and the most Larryous. So we have one that is definitely a semi-naked Clancy, and we have one that is very John Cooper Clarke.
Yes.
We have a third one, which is a kind of onion head Larry.
Onion head Mr. Burns.
And then Mr. Burns. A lot of the Larrys came back looking a lot like Mr. Burns, and then we've got more of a Frosty. You asked me, and I said no.
Well, it is possible. The only other Larry on show is Mr. Burns' son, Larry Burns.
Yes.
In that one, the Rodney Dangerfield episode. So unless it's somehow feasible that Larry is more known by Artbot than Barfly Larry by name for some reason, it seems like that's what they've obviously. There's some kind of internal connection to Burns. My favourite one is the Onion Burns with the look how good the Lenny is in the background, considering you didn't ask for a Lenny.
No, there's that Mo's pretty good in the background of that one though.
Yeah, it does nail basically the core like 10 characters. Yeah, you ask for a Mo or most of the time actually you ask for a character, and then background characters like this will be pretty accurate.
Which one of them do you think is the most Larry-ish, our Larry?
I'm going to have to go for the John Cooper Clarke one just because of the clothing and the sort of big nose and the wispy hair, but it's not.
Great. It's not at all, right? And even if you put all 4 of them together, I don't think you could scrape a half-decent Larry. They couldn't get the comb over the wispy hair, and it couldn't get the kind of like egg timer hourglass head.
Which is fun because, well, Larry is one of the only characters who kind of has a similar hair to Homer. There aren't many of them. The other ones are like, again, early season ones, like still Marvin Monroe and Jasper maybe, but not a lot of characters are bald with just the lines of hair. And Larry is, so maybe it only will do that for Homer. My favorite thing about any of the 4 images is the tiny people on the bar in the last one.
Yeah, it did a lot of those. I'm not sure why it started to do little tiny people all over the place.
The bottom left one with the guy with his head stuck in the beer bottle is the best one.
Yes.
And yeah, it's somewhat surprising that there's no Larry art at all.
I couldn't get a single piece, except for the one that we always get, which is that same kind of drawing.
Yeah, the Crocs one.
The kind of Crocs one, isn't it?
Yeah, we did discuss. We basically said in that I cut it out because it wasn't actually about Larry. It was just about the picture. But we went over it in the Samcast and doubled down on the fact that it looks absolutely nothing like Larry.
Here we go.
We
the
said,
only piece of art,
yeah,
Larry-based art, was this.
I'm surprised none has come out in the last week or two, to be honest. Given all the love for Larry. But yeah, we essentially said he looks like Jesse from Breaking Bad and 11 from Stranger Things.
Yes,
Yeah,
but in no way does he look like Larry from the Sumps.
Exactly.
Anyway, it's no good. Our magic is not strong enough to go through this portal into the realist real. Ooh,
and it's over for me at this point. I can hear I'm being called. I'm being summoned.
Well, that's not good. We must resurrect our father. Do you still have his dust, Dobby, from when he was something WWP?
No, of course I brought the dust. Let's do a magic spell. Dobby, you do the magic spell. We'll stick all the dust back together with our powers and see what happens. Can you do like a musical magic spell to bring back our father, Anton Ouija board?
Exactly. And I will sing it for you right now.
How about your buddy, the little Zen? Is he around?
He's always around. I have a cassette tape of his.
Put it on, lad. It'd be just perfect for this. It'd probably be like our uncle or our father, Kaching, just coming back to life and taking us to the realist real and magic and shit.
That's exactly what it's about. Exactly. Just give me 1 to 2 working minutes.
Demons be creeping, donkeys run wild, dollhouses crumble, in the darkness we hide. Voodoo may rising from the depths of the night, bringing the magic to make all things right.
Ouija board!
Dungeons they tremble as he breaks free.
Ouija board!
The silence is calling, says come follow me.
Anton Ouija board!
Through the fog and the fire, we'll find our own way to the realest real where dreams never fade.
Just like Anton Ouija board!
Voodoo magic, taking
Ouija board!
with demons by our side.
Down
We'll
to
touch the sky.
dollhouses!
Realest real,
Ouija board!
we'll make it through.
Ouija board!
Voodoo man's got.
What do you know? It worked. Brilliant. Thanks, little Zen. We owe you one. Dusty Anton, our father has appeared.
Ouija board is back.
I can thank you for tying my dust up with ribbons. Here we go. Here's the rogue pixel. Open the portal. What can you see, my boys?
It's nice to see you too. I can see someone who looks like me, flimsy, but without lobster claws, sat in his chair, editing a video.
Oh, the real is real?
He seems to be editing a Larry cast. What year is this?
Very meta.
Heavy meta.
Are we finished with the song?
Sure, let us.
Sumps on a roast fire.
You've unshared, unfortunately.
Yes.
Some sons are roast fire. They are in a mobile.
Esau, the smoke monster. Boo, a shaman.
You're more of a pig than I.
Very bashky.
Shh, Jason, hush puppies, puppy. Animate, fabric, ornacia.
Larry a pig.
Slupper and Rub's face.
William Charles Schneider is in the race. Bradley Walsh, front chase.
Ja, well, I guess this glass I'm going to die in.
Larry Sloopy Face Pippin up bar.
Alan Chitaro, Karl Heinz 57 Stockhausen, a cancelled bunny rabbit in a robe with a tash.
No Sensi Defo knows who she is.
Larry Speaks, something Jake.
Teddy Sheringham.
Ooh wee home groggly pigeon joy.
Banry's arrest here.
She adores you. It's Maggie Roswell.
Big step up, Animo, parade, good time drunk.
Gary, Larry Shamadley covers Shift's face.
Mary Nude, Whale Sa One.
El Vajay, Vajazzle Karkid, as a acquaintance.
Commie sympathiser.
Nathan Zaz O'Leary, Rex Woofington,
Mo Angus Empty Pint, Lenny White Cow Black Look Back.
Mo pops him in his sad head with the handle.
the Devon Maid, Republican actor Vince Vaughn.
There is a photo of Apu and Jar on the wall.
And Otto Pinpals. He pokes Eam in the eyes. It's so issues. It does angina.
Quickie, the Nestle Bunny, King Louis XIV, Muriel Goldman.
The Clathley Johnny Barflies.
Oh, look at all the lonely barflies. Look at all the lonely barflies.
Death, La Befana.
Chicken chow mein.
He sagely slips into bed.
Some people like chunky peanut butter. Some like smooth.
The F, yen, same four. Bulging.
Larry Earn is being held by an Eastwood type ranger. That was all clear as day.
Unflavoured for me. Would you like some mixed vegetables?
Bounce bashed them.
I yen animate metal Earn.
Excuse me, wouldn't you prefer some gingerbread children instead?
Bonus, Alte Lonely Larrys.
Where is Sam? Hashtag.
You got the two barflies in most time. You got Larry, I think the other guy is, with like the wavy hair and the lids, and then you got Sammy, who's like, he kind of dressed like a trucker, kind of.
Hope you chimps happy. The end.
The end. Hashtag where is Sam?
Hashtag where is Sam? Hashtag the realist real.
Justice for Sam.
It's been delightful to have you on board for this rant, and hopefully we've set the world to rights, and those Simpsons writers will listen and they'll do something. They won't wait 20 years like they did with Todd Flanders to have to deal with his feelings about his mother. But
I can't wait for Sam's season 48 adventure. Yeah,
no,
thanks,
it's been a pleasure, Beef.
Oh, thanks anytime, fellas. Yeah, it's been an absolute delight. Enjoy your bank holiday weekend. And, I'll speak to you soon. Yeah,
Bye.
cheers. Yeah. Bye. Bye.
I look at all the lonely barflies. Look at all the lonely barflies. Got to go, I've got a boat lunch at 1 o'clock. Look at all the lonely barflies. Look at all the lonely barflies. Got to go, I've got a pub lunch at 1 o'clock. Larry the barfly sat at a stool every night. Pub lunch at 1. And he ordered a beer, shedding a tear. Bloody Larry cast pub lunch at 1. Larry cast hashtag where he said pub lunch.